in the 1940s.
这一座建筑奇迹。
就變咗車頭啦。
Forever.
Sinking in, I know this feels right. Catching a crazy love moving through me like a wildfire, like a wildfire. Hey, I'm never the same.
And friends like us, shit comes like this.
And then stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs outside. And please, watch the children. 安全起见，在茶杯旋转期间，请坐好。
小朋友，
啱咩？
艺术日宴会为安全起见，请您坐好。在茶杯旋转期间，请将。
我3天啊，20分鐘。
把帽子、眼镜以及冰伞放入你面前的储物袋里，请将安全感拉到身前，准备起飞。祝大家好运！所有嘅事情注意，星戰極速傳送。
Enemy fighters coming your way！
全部戰機戒備。去陷阱，全部戰機散開。
Welcome everyone. I hope you're enjoying your visit to the Stark Expo. Of course, the roots of the expo began back in the 1940s when Tony Stark's father Howard presented his vision of the future at the World Exposition of Tomorrow in New York.
Hello, Miss Wong. Mr. Stark wanted me to jazz up your presentation.
So Mr. Stark thinks I'm not entertaining enough?
Precisely.
喺架車度。
黃小姐，不如等我幫你操控部車。
唔使啦，我自己嚟。
我想提提你，你最近已經個茶壺冇茶㗎，黃小姐。
如果 Dummy 喺度就好啦。
史達工業創造美好明天，從今天開始。
啲曲奇係俾我㗎。
而家就係啦。
好啊。
这一次所用的装备是提供洁净能源的显反应能源气科技。史达工业更选择在香港这座历史中心、古今思想前沿的大都会，展示我们的最新成就——香港史达大楼。这一座建筑奇迹是全亚洲第一座能够以洁净能源自给自足的摩天大楼。
沿住座位通道直入，放喺你座位下面嘅儲物籃。
Vision heads-up display glasses. The glasses will activate prior to launch.
You are about to step into the future of transportation. All of us at Stark Industries wish you a pleasant flight.
Jarvis Expo 8.
Hey, howdy, hey! My name is Woody, and this is where toys come to play. And don't touch my hat.
30分钟、30分鐘前到正大前行到車座。
之旅玩得開心，仲有小心啲，你哋可能會隨時整濕身嘅。Welcome to the world famous Jungle River Cruise.
You will be super fun. Sit at the bar. You will be super wild. Yeah, you can see it. This is the VIP seat. Watch yourself moving, move forward. Don't cross away. Moving, move. Alright. Let's go. Turn around and say goodbye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Now, look at my left hand side. What you got? This is laughing here. Okay, now look at my right hand side. This is my sun tree house. Yeah, a lot of famous scientists doing a researching here. But can you guys see the scientists? No, right? Because they are going to the vacation right now, just like you all. But I can't go to the vacation because I do not have any more holidays. Be careful. Nothing happened. That's a joke. Oh, that's not a joke. If they like Japanese food, we will become sashimi. Be careful, get out! Oh, it's okay, we'll find it later. Actually, I don't know this. This is the number 2 elephant. Where's number 1? Here is this one. What's wrong? Wow. Okay, it seems like the trouble here. Should we save them? Should we? Yes or no? Okay, you should give the seat to them. And say bye-bye to all of us. Maybe no. Bye-bye, Dr. Shaq. Bye-bye. Next time. Ooh, where are they? Why so silent? They are not my friends anymore. Oh. Are you guys okay? Your hands here, your focus. Okay, I found a way to go. Let's go, 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 go. You guys did a great job. Give yourself a big hand. Come on, let's go. Oh, it's the baby elephant. She's come to say bye-bye. We say bye-bye. Bye. Alright, before we get back to the top, I have something to tell you all. Please sit properly and put your arm into the boat. Put your arm into the boat. Yeah, let me check. Very good. Good. Okay, let's get back to the log right now. Remember, if you guys like this journey,